Welcome back to Creepcast. This is a story we wanted to throw in a all-timer known as Tiki Toby. As per usual, I've never read this, but Isaiah seems to have quite a nice history with it.
Oh, it's a work of art, surely. I only pick the best. I mean, clearly, look at creepypasta.com. It has 9... What is... Hold on, I lost it because a Super Mario ripoff game in Japanese that pop-up just destroyed the screen. It has 9.1 out of 10 stars. Who would rate a story so highly?
Almost a perfect score. Almost. Yes. I mean, this has to be a perfect story.
With 4,740 votes.
Yeah.
So
almost 5,000 people have come here and said this is a near perfect story. Near
and
perfect.
when you look at the tags for it, what kind of perfect story would not be tagged with things such as gore, mental illnesses?
I would love to read the tags if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
Or yeah. So it says this was written in March 2nd, 2015. Ooh, 10 year anniversary. Good for us. So these are the tags. It says deaths, murders, and disappearances, famous creepypasta, slashers and gore, arson, arsons, creepypasta classics, crimes, deaths, castaway, mental illness, murders, serial killers, slashers, sociopaths, stabbings, Tiki Toby anime, Tiki Toby backstory, Tiki Toby creepypasta, Tiki Toby creepypasta story, Tiki Toby drawing, Tiki Toby fan art, Tiki Toby full story, Tiki Toby castaway, Tiki Toby origin story, Tiki Toby original story, Tiki Toby story, and Toby Rogers.
Incredible.
It's unbelievable. Now, see, one thing that really stood out for me there, Isaiah, was Tiki Toby anime. Really curious to see how that correlates with arson.
Look, that tells you everything you need to know about the demographic of people who look up and read these things.
You know, I think that there might be some cross-pollination there. I'm so excited to read Tiki Toby here. I feel like, listen, I don't think that it's not a bear trap to say that this is going to be a Jeff the Killer kind of thing, but I want to see, how does this stand on its own 2 feet? Because this is such a high score.
Yeah, for absolutely legitimate, non-sarcastic reasons, I assure you. I feel like this wasn't the beginning of Tiki Toby. I feel like he was like a fan art creation originally or something like that, and then someone wrote this story.
So it's kind of like Slender Man then. Because isn't that the origin of Slender Man?
Yeah, kinda. Because there's never been like a main story. The closest thing was like the Marble Hornet series. There's never been like a main hardline story for him. But I could be wrong on that. But I feel like Tiki Toby came before this story did, or like people actually put notes to him. It was mostly like anime-esque fan art.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I wanted to bring that up because when looking this up, there was a lot of anime fan art. We can post some here. And there was also a lot of live action, like cosplay of this character. So I'm guessing just the infamous blood stained face with the glasses and the Justin Bieber hair and the hood. Yeah. So mysterious guy, right? Which we find this a lot. People get all soupy and goopy, leaving snail trails over their seats over these like bad boy murderers. We find that a lot in these stories. So I'm guessing Tiki Toby is going to fall into that barometer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like you said, not exactly a bear trap. I think it's kind of evident, but it will be something.
It's a classic. It's a classic, and it needs to be documented on this channel.
It does. So before we dive into that, Hunter, is there any more time left for them to buy the merch? I think they've got like a day or something, right?
If I would just check creepcast.store. I'm not sure. If there is, we have merch drops. Even if this is later on, way past our drop, we do have a merch store, creepcast.store. We have merch there. Our newest drop is happening right now. Hopefully still. I don't know. We're professional. But just know if you want to throw some garments on you, if you need something new for your closet, be sure to check it out. And also be sure to check us out on the audio platforms like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It really does help, and give us a nice little rating. But without further ado, let's jump into Tiki Toby.
Absolutely. So here we go. Time to begin. The long road home seemed to go on and on. The road continued to stretch in front of the vehicle endlessly. The light that shone through the branches of the tall, green trees danced around the window in random patterns, every once in a while, obnoxiously shining in your eyes. The surroundings were full of deep green trees, forming a forest around the road. The only sound was the sound of the car's engine as it traveled down the path. It was peaceful and left a serene feeling. Although the ride seemed like a nice one, it lacked every form of nice from its two passengers. The middle-aged woman behind the steering wheel had neat, short brown hair that fit her complexion quite well. She wore a green V-neck t-shirt and a pair of blue jeans. Diamond stud earrings decorated each of her ears, which partially showed from behind her haircut. She had deep green eyes, which her shirt brought out, and the lighting seemed to make them more noticeable. There wasn't anything significant about her appearance. She looked like any other average mother you would see on TV shows and the like. However, the one thing that made her different than the average mothers was the dark bag she had under her eyes. Her facial expression was gloomy and sad, although she genuinely looked like someone who smiled a lot. She would sniffle every once in a while, and occasionally glance in the rearview mirror to look at her son in the back seat, who was hunched over partially, with his arms held tight around his chest and his head pressed against the cold window. The boy lacked any normal appearance, and anyone could plainly see there was something wrong with him. His messy brown hair went every which way, and the luminescent lighting brought out his pale, almost gray skin. It's just a rotting corpse in the back seat. His eyes were dark.
See, they're setting up here, and see, they're trying to do something. The author's doing something cute here. They're doing this. They're doing. You know what? Yeah, he looks kind of weird. But then they don't ever really say like, oh, his almost pale, almost gray skin. It's just it feels very anime, doesn't it? Leaning against the cold window, looking out longingly, arms crossed, whatever. Oh yeah. It's like, yeah, he's just not like the other guys.
Which was like crack for the average readers.
I feel like people are already daydreaming. They're already, complicated mother who, this kid's a handful and I want him to be in my handful.
Oh, his life's so hard, isn't it? It's so, it's tragedy. His eyes were dark, unlike his mother's, and he wore a white t-shirt and scrub pants that had been provided for him by the hospital.
God.
Clothes he had worn before were so shredded and blood-stained that they weren't wearable anymore. The right side of his face bared a few cuts along with a split eyebrow. His right arm was bandaged all the way to the shoulder, which had been shredded when his right side hit the shattered glass. His injuries appeared to be painful, when in reality he couldn't feel anything. This was just one of the glories of being him. One of the challenges he had to face while growing up was I forgot about that. I forgot he had a superpower.
Wait, spoils!
I forgot about this. It's this sentence. This was just one of the glories of being him. One of the challenges he had to face while growing up was growing up with a rare disease that caused him to be completely numb to pain.
That's awesome.
Never before had he felt himself get hurt.
We've had something like that, right? Never before had he felt himself get hurt. There's been another. Was that the Jeff the Killer thing?
Jeff the Killer was that his face got burnt.
But wasn't it burned that he couldn't feel anything anymore?
No. He cut his eyelids off so that he would never go to sleep. That was the thing.
Of course.
It never said, and he cut a smile into his face. Yes. It never says he can't feel pain.
Okay.
But here, it's like our character was born with a condition that makes him not feel pain.
He can't feel anything. That makes
it's like what's his name? It's like Kick-Ass from the movie.
It's he can't feel pain. He can't feel pain. But see, this is the part where also the people are like, but I can change him. But he can feel love. I bet he can feel.
He needs to want to feel pain. That's the difference. He needs to want to feel emotion. Or he's like, I don't deserve that. I see, something along those lines.
I don't deserve to feel pain, babe.
Yeah.
For real. I don't want to feel anything at all. That's what I deserve.
Oh, don't worry, it gets better. So, oh my gosh, I actually forgot about this. I completely forgot why he's called Ticci Toby until we started. I'm having so many flashbacks. Oh, this is written from such a different time in the internet. I forgot about this. Okay. he could have lost an arm and felt nothing. The other major disorder he had faced, which was the one that deemed him many insulting nicknames in the short time he attended grade school before he switched to homeschooling, was his Tourette syndrome, which caused him to tick and twitch in ways he couldn't control. I forgot about that.
They call him Tiki Toby because he has Tourette's tics.
Yes. I 100% mental block that, but yes, he does. If I remember right, there's like 5 other disorders he has.
Of course,
like there's a
he's
laundry
damaged.
List. Yeah,
he's damaged goods.
Yeah, it's like the author was so desperate to like cram every disability they could think of.
Do you think they throw in the homeschool thing because it's also not only is it like, well, people don't understand me, but it's people yearning to be like, God, I wish I was homeschooled. I wish I didn't have to go back to my school. Do you think it was one of those things?
And also it's like the ultimate form of like society doesn't understand me.
I'm such a black sheep.
Yeah. I was homeschooled for a couple years when I was a kid, and I can definitely say I was like that this story would have appealed to me being like, yeah, I'm different. I'm so damaged. I
am broken.
Yeah. I am Tiki Toby.
Yeah, you're Tiki Toby, so you have Tourette's and stuff too. I am broken. Pancakes. Okay, we can't. We need to cut.
You got to cut that one.
We have to cut the Tourette's tick part. Actually, hold on a second. Hold on. Pause. Pancakes. Okay, I'm not gonna. I'm done. No more. We have to get it out now, Isaiah. We have to get it out now.
I think you're going to keep going. I think you can't help yourself. I don't stand by him. I don't condone him.
You do.
Look, whatever problems you have with him, I probably have as well. We can come to agreement
stand
on
right
this.
by me at the altar as I whisper pancakes into your ear.
Not on this. Not on this one. Absolutely not.
Pancakes.
Where was I even? I forgot what sentence that was. His Tourette's syndrome couldn't control. I got it.
Yeah.
He would crack his neck uncontrollably and twitch every once in a while. The kids would tease him and call him Tiki Toby, and they mocked him with exaggerated twitching and laughing. It got so bad he had to turn to homeschooling. It was too hard for him to be in a common learning environment with seemingly every kid poking, or more like stabbing, fun at him.
I like how the teachers don't do anything either. All right, kids, calm down. They're all like,
no, the teacher was probably you. The teacher was probably you and making fun of him along with the other students.
Yeah, don't make fun of Toby and his pancakes. No, I'm not laughing at him. I just remembered a really funny joke. Please, kids. And I'm like, I give a kid $5. Twitch more at him. Twitch at him.
Make it worse.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you're in the principal's office. You're in the principal's office with the kid. Like, I have no idea what he's talking about.
Yeah, I don't know. That's drug money. I've seen him. He's selling Adderall in school. He should be kicked out. That's how he has all this extra cash.
It's like the 5th grade.
Yeah, the kid's like, Adderall? I'm like, give me the drugs! Yeah, like, go into his locker. Where is it? Where's your stash?
Kid's just crying.
Yeah, I planted
you're trafficking these, aren't you? What cartel are you working with?
I fucking planted 4 pounds of Adderall in his locker.
4 pounds.
4 pounds. It's a lot. 4 pounds. I'm like, oh, really? You don't know what it is? Where'd you get the hooch? He's like, I don't know what that is. Also, if you're what grade did we say? 5th grade?
I said 5th grade.
How old is a 5th grader?
I mean, that's not what the story said. The story hasn't said how old he is. I said 5th grade because the visual of you accusing a 5th grader.
Yeah, that's fine. 10, I'm saying, okay, 10. So the voice works then. I don't know what that is. Yeah, he's 10. Okay, he's 10. That's fine.
And then the image of you going to a principal and be like, I think they've got a meth lab under the school.
Listen, I think they're going listen. I see him talk with this Chinese guy before school every day, and he gives him a big bag of pills. I'm not trying to rustle any feathers here. I'm just saying that I think he's got a source.
Mr. Hancock, that's Mr. Lee, the English teacher you're referring to, and they would talk to him because that's
he's in the back of the room. I've met you 6 times. I'm like, huh? Hey, where'd you get here?
We have worked together at the school for 4 years now. I'm tenured, actually.
Oh my God. This is so not like me. I am so sorry. I just have like cocaine dust all over my nose. I am so sorry. This is so not like me.
You walk out of the principal's office and you go to the assistant principal. Like, I think the principal's in on it. I think he's getting a cut.
I think the principal's selling Adderall to the kids. Call the superintendent immediately. All the pills are just like falling out of my pocket onto the ground. These are vitamins. Don't look at these. These are omega fish oils. Yeah, but you want to give me that, or I can give you one for $5. It doesn't matter. Just either or. Give it to me.
Mr. Hancock, you were brought up here because you have to quit calling the parents of the children in your class who have disabilities and saying that it would be funny if you kept making fun of them when they're home.
I didn't do that.
And on a related note, you cannot steal Adderall prescriptions from children who have legitimate diagnosis.
Yeah, you can't go into you can't go into the special needs wing of the school and steal prescription papers from the kids. That you just cannot do that. I didn't know I couldn't go in there. I was just picking up papers.
We also, at this time, and it's insane I have to say this, but you have to quit accusing Mr. Lee of operating a Chinese drug smuggling ring out of the 5th grade special ed classroom.
I refuse. I don't know what he's doing.
I don't even know. He's from Michigan. I don't know what connection you think he has to Chinese.
Tell me who you work for. How fast do you think until that guy gets fired? Until the teacher gets fired? He has that conversation. A fifth grade teacher. Well, it seems like you kept phrasing it like you can't keep doing this, to where it's like it's a 5th grade teacher and he's blaming the one Asian guy of selling Adderall to the kids. There's no way that guy is staying. It's a one and done. All right, maybe you slip up one time, but you keep screaming pancakes at the kid with Tourette's in class and saying he has Adderall connections. You're fired. You're like, oh. Yeah, I think you shrugged. You're like, what? Where's this coming from? What did I do wrong?
I'm being targeted. This is discrimination, of course.
Also, we're still reading a story. I forgot.
Yeah, the story. About that, the story. Where's it even at? Oh, Toby stared blankly out the window. Yeah. I'd like to take a quick moment to thank today's sponsor, AG1. Those who are here for my channel will know that AG1 is your daily drinkable dose of important vitamins and minerals, providing you with the brain, body, and gut health you need to thrive. And now, AG1 just got a whole lot better thanks to AG1 Next Gen. Now with 5 probiotics and even more vitamins and minerals, AG1 still provides full body health and energy, just now with an updated formula. AG1 is backed by 4 clinical trials showing that it fills nutrient gaps and supports gut health. And AG1 is a pleasure every day, from the energy it gives me to the naturally sweet flavor it has that I enjoy in my morning routine. I used to be awful about needing to take naps midway through the day or just running out of energy, and trust me, when putting up with Hunter, I need all the help I can get. But thanks to AG1 helping me get the things that my body needed, like B vitamins or immune support supplements. Sure, losing weight and eating right are the biggest parts of that, but AG1 is certainly a piece of the puzzle that helps me do all of those things. AG1 also has key nutrients to help stabilize your mood, which has probably saved Hunter's life from me on a couple occasions. So start your day with an AG1 boost and feel the difference for yourself, because right now there's never been a better time to get in on this new offer. That's because right now, if you head to the link in the description at drinkag1.com/creepcast or scan the QR code, you can get in on AG1 for less than $3 a day. What's not to love about that? You get their handy storage container, the shaker bottle of vitamins D3 and K2, as well as several days of AG1 in their convenient travel packs. So to get started for less than $3 a day, head to the link in the description at drinkag1.com/creepcast to get in on this incredible offer today. Thank you to AG1 for sponsoring the show. We are now back to the episode.
This episode is sponsored by Turtle Beach headphones. Lately, I've been replaying old games I used to love and been getting a lot of good nostalgia from that. And it made me think of Turtle Beach headphones. At school, if you didn't have Turtle Beaches, you didn't have headphones. I recently made the switch and I picked up some of the Turtle Beaches, and I was surprised by the quality. The Turtle Beach Stealth 700s have an 80-hour battery life, so I'm always covered during the late night streams I have when I'm gaming with my boys. Plus, Turtle Beach's quick charge feature gets me back into the game fast. And the main thing for me is that the Turtle Beach headsets are comfy. Throughout the long podcasts, work calls, and on occasional all-nighters, Turtle Beach stays on. and they stay comfy. The Stealth 700 also has the industry's first ever cross-play dual wireless system, allowing you to seamlessly switch between console and PC with just the touch of a button, which is pretty sick. For your next headset, head to turtlebeach.com and use code Creepcast for 10% off your entire order. That's 10% off your order at turtlebeach.com with promo code Creepcast. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them, and you know where to tell them. Support the show and tell them we sent you. Get the ultimate immersive gaming experience with Turtle Beach today. Thank you for Turtle Beach for sponsoring this episode, and let's get back to reading.
Toby stared blankly out the window, his face empty of any emotion, and every few minutes a shoulder, arm, or foot would twitch. Every bump that the car tires hit would make his stomach turn. Toby Rogers was the boy's name, and the last time Toby remembered riding in a car was when it crashed. That's all he thought about, unconsciously replaying everything he remembered before he blacked out, over and over again. Toby had been the lucky one. His sister had not been so lucky. When the thought of his sister came, he couldn't help the tears that welled up in his eyes. The horrible memories replayed in his mind. Her screaming that had cut off when the front of the car was smashed in. It all went blank for a moment before Toby opened his eyes to see his sister's body. Her forehead pierced with glass shards, her hips and legs crushed under the force of the steering wheel, and her torso pushed in front the too late inflated airbag. That was the last thing he had seen of his dear old sister. The road home continued on for what seemed like forever. It took so long to get home because his mom wanted to avoid the site of the crash. When the surroundings gave way to a familiar neighborhood, they were both more than ready to get out of the car and step back into their own home. It was an older neighborhood with quaint little houses all next to each other. The car drove in front of a blue house with white window panes. They both quickly noticed the old vehicle that was parked in front of the house and the familiar figure that stood in the driveway. Toby felt automatic anger and frustration take over him at the sight of his father. His father, who wasn't there. His mother pulled the car up in the driveway beside him before turning off the engine and preparing to step out and face her husband.
Why is he here?
Toby said quietly as he looked back at his mother, who reached to open the car door.
He's your father, Toby. He's here because he wants to see you.
His mother responded in a monotone voice, trying to sound less shaky.
Yet, couldn't drive up to the hospital to see Lyra before she died.
Toby narrowed his eyes out of the window.
He was drunk that night, honey. He couldn't drive. Dude, wife of the year. Wife of the year. That's awesome. God damn it, Toby. We've said this before. He was drunk. He couldn't drive, or else he would have been there. It's like, that's not... Yeah. When is he not? It's awesome.
Your father works hard at the beer drinking factory.
Yeah, exactly.
He puts food on this table.
Listen, he went out and had a fiver with his friends. He couldn't drive.
Look, it's hard to be the drink tester at Miller Lite, but he does it for this family, by God.
He does it for us. For us, Toby. Not you too, Bob. Pancakes. Pancakes.
Mr. Hancock's been talking to you, hasn't he? He's been calling you.
Well, Mr. Hancock's been selling me Adderall for 3 weeks. And I'm laser focused right now.
I'm locked in.
Whatever you say, don't say that to your father. He's been drinking.
Toby pushed the door open before his mother and stumbled out onto the driveway, where he met his father's gaze before looking down at his feet with a stern expression. His mother stepped out before him and met her husband's eyes before walking around the car. His father opened up his arms, expecting a hug from his wife, but she walked past him and put her arm around Toby's shoulder and started leading him inside.
Connie?
Her husband began in a raspy voice.
What? No welcome home hug, huh?
Wasn't Connie the name of the wife in Diania House?
It all is full circle, isn't it? It's all full. Little wines are open all over the driveway.
Hold on, let me make sure I'm right.
It all comes full circle. What, baby? You don't want to give me a hug? Is it actually?
That's his wife in Tiny House.
Yes! He's back! I love it. Yes.
What? Eric, that's his name. Yeah, it's Eric's wife.
So you're not going to give me a welcome home hug, baby? You're going to have the weird Tourette's kid he's got an Adderall addiction, Connie.
Hold on. What
He's
was that,
on
Eric?
Pills.
Was it Eric or Mark?
I can't fucking remember.
Yeah, whichever one Eat Me Like a Bug is, his wife was Connie. Yeah,
Exactly.
That's him. So now this is the ending of that story. He didn't.
Yeah, this is where it picks back up, luckily.
We're building the universe. His son is Ticci Toby.
The creepypasta universe all is connected. These little doorways.
Yes, he's back again. Oh man. Okay, so yeah. She ignored her husband's obnoxious words and walked past him with her son under her arm.
Hey, he's 16. Or, hey, he's 16. He can walk by himself.
His father began to follow them in.
He's 17.
Connie glared back at him before opening the door to the house and
what
stepping
are you,
inside.
fucking mother time? You just know everybody's age? Fuck you, Connie. Wait, you best friends with him? You just know what's his birthday then? Off the top of your head, what's his birthday then?
Oh, you think you're better than me because you were there when he was born?
Oh, so you know the difference between 16 and 17. Good for you. Good for you, baby. That's why he's so pretty. He's so smart.
He's still in the flower pot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm gonna have to shuffle over and come give me a kiss. Hey, Toby, pancakes, right? He loves them. I'm fucking with you. I'm fucking with you.
Connie, I went to that teacher's meeting the other day, and there was a teacher there who gave me a lot of Adderall.
There's a teacher there, he gave me a big handful of Adderall, and I took all of them. Sweet, I took all of them, and I drank those high lifes like you said I shouldn't, but I did. And now I got real bad stomach ache. It hurts. It hurts bad. Need you go inside, get me some Pepto-Bismol. It hurts.
Toby's just standing there listening to all of this.
Yeah, he's like still moody and stuff. He's no. He's on the front porch, but he's on like a bench on the side of the house, and he's like sitting like L from Death Note. He's like, you guys are stupid pancakes.
What's the Death Note character that's like pale white with the black hair?
Yeah, L. That's L.
Is that L? Okay.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. That's who I see in my mind. That's how he's sitting on the bench.
And his dad's just in a flower pot. Oh man, Connie was like a biblical level pull for us right there.
God, it's beautiful.
Oh, all right, so now back to Toby's line. That's you.
He's 17.
Connie glared back at him before opening the door to the house and stepping inside.
Toby, why don't we get you in your room to rest, okay? I'll come get you when dinner's ready. No, I'm 16. I can walk by myself.
Toby said sarcastically and glared back at his father before stumbling up the small staircase and turning into his room, where he slammed the door violently. His little room didn't have much in it, just a small bed, a dresser, a window, and his walls had a few picture frames of his family back when they were a family, before his father became an alcoholic and acted violently toward the rest of the family. Toby remembered when he was arguing with his mom and he grabbed her by the hair and shoved her to the floor.
God damn.
And when Lyra, that's rough. That's another thing. These writers always, they will throw super heavy imagery. Do you remember the one we were reading about, the little stuffed puppet, and it's like aborted fetuses were hanging everywhere?
Yeah.
They will take super heavy themes and just dive bomb them into stories just completely haphazardly over and over.
It's beautiful.
It's funny to be like, I'm mad at my dad because he didn't come see my sister before she died. Anyway, I remember the time he grabbed my mom's hair and shoved her into the wall. Like,
it hit you like a freight train because he's sitting there. He's just like, also I like how they're like, his room was small. Yeah, he had a drawer. he had a dresser and bed. Nice pictures of his family. Like, the room doesn't sound that bad. And it's just like, he also remembers the time that his dad grabbed the root of his mom's hair and drove her face to the floorboards and beat her half to death. You're like, what?
It's just insane.
He's like, but
levels.
you know, he doesn't think about that all the time, but it does happen sometimes.
Toby remembered when he was arguing with his mom and he grabbed her by the hair and shoved her to the floor. And when Lyra had to try to break it up, he pushed her and she hit her back on the corner of the kitchen counter. Toby can never forgive him for what he did to his mother and sister. Never. Toby didn't care how much his father beat him down. He couldn't feel it anyway. What he did care about was how he intentionally hurt the only two people he cared about. And when he was waiting in the hospital where his sister took her last breaths, the only one who didn't rush there was his dad. Toby stood by the window and looked out at the street. He could have sworn he saw something out of the corner of his eye, but quickly blamed it on the meds he was on. Oh my gosh, I forgot about this. Oh, Hunter, you are in for a treat. Okay. When dinner time had come and his mother called up to him, Toby came down the stairs and hesitantly sat down at the table across from his father, and in between his mother and an empty chair. It was quiet as his parents picked at their food, but Toby refused to eat. Instead, he just watched his dad with a blank stare. His mother caught on to his staring and elbowed him slightly. Toby looked over at her slightly and then down at his uneaten food, which he still didn't touch. Toby laid in bed. Or, it's supposed to say laid in bed. It's a typo and says he laid in B. Tony laid in B. He pulled his covers over his head and stared at the window. He was tired, but there was no way he would fall asleep. He couldn't. There was too much to think about. He had been debating on whether or not to follow his mother's directions and forgive his father, or continue holding a grudge with his boiling hatred. He heard his door creak open and his mother padded into the room, sat on the bed next to him. She reached over and rubbed his back, which had been turned to her.
I know it's hard, Toby. Trust me, I understand. But I promise you it will get better,
she said softly.
When is he going to leave?
Toby said with an innocent tone in his shaky voice. Connie let her gaze fall down to her feet.
I don't know, honey. He's staying as far as I know.
Tony didn't respond. He just continued to look forward at the wall, holding his damaged arm near his chest. After a few minutes of silence, his mother sighed before she leaned in to kiss his cheek and stood up to walk out of the room.
Good night,
she said as she closed the door. The hours passed slowly, and Toby couldn't quit tossing and turning. Every time he let his imagination take over, he heard the screeching of tires, the screaming of his sister, and he would uncontrollably jerk in bed. He threw off his cover, and lying on his back, he pulled his pillow over his face and cried into it. He could hear his own pitiful weeping. He could have been screaming and crying if he didn't press his pillow under his face. After a few seconds, he threw the pillow off his face and sat up, hunched over, holding his head and breathing roughly, tears streaming from his eyes. He couldn't help but cry. He tried to keep it in, but he couldn't stop the whining and whimpering as he sat there shaking. He inhaled before he stood up and walked around his bed to the window and peered out, taking deep breaths, trying to calm down. He rubbed his eyes and looked out at the group of tall pine trees across the street. He stopped suddenly, and his gaze slowly centered on something standing under the streetlight. He heard ringing in his ears and couldn't look away. A figure stood beside the streetlight, about 2 feet shorter than it did, long arms draped at its sides as it stared up at him with non-existing eyes. The figure had no facial features to speak of. No eyes, no mouth, no nose. It had held Toby's hypnotized stare, seemingly peering into his very being. The ringing in his ears grew louder and louder each second he stared before suddenly it all went black. The next morning, Toby woke in his bed. He felt different. He wasn't tired at all, and when he consciously woke up, it felt like he had been lying there awake for hours. He had no thoughts flowing through his mind. He sat up slowly and stumbled over to the wall, but when he stood, he automatically felt dizzy. He stumbled to the doorway and walked down the stairs. His parents were sitting at the table. His father was tuned in to the small TV that sat on the countertop, and his mother was reading the newspaper. She quickly looked over when she felt Toby's presence looming behind her.
Well, good morning, sleepyhead. You've been sleeping forever.
She greeted him with a hesitant smile. Toby slowly looked over at the clock and noticed it was 12:30 p.m.
I made you breakfast, but it got cold. I was going to wake you, but I felt you needed some sleep.
Her expression fell from happy to worried as her son resisted responding to her.
Are you all right?
Toby stumbled over and sat by his father. He felt as if he was on idle and had no control over his actions. He was seeing everything he did, but it didn't register in his brain properly. He reached out to his father's arm, but his hand ended up getting slapped. His father turned to him abruptly and pushed his chair over with his foot.
Don't touch me, boy.
His mother stood up. Yeah.
All right, knock that off. This is the last thing we need.
The days went by and things continued on as they were. Connie spent most of her time cleaning the house, and her rude husband spent most of his time ordering her around. It's just like how it used to be before the crash. It's so funny to imagine, like, the guy in the flower pot, and then Elle from Death Note is just touching him gently, like rubbing his arm.
I also like how he touches his arm. I need to have it. He needs to be more like, don't touch me, boy. way more aggressive. Hey, don't fucking touch me. And you clean up that over there. Yeah. I'm the man of the house.
Excuse me, I have to go back to the beer drinking factory.
No, excuse me, I have to go to work. He pops open two tiny wines. Uh-oh, just doing overtime today, boys.
Another day in the office.
Another day in the office.
You know, I tell you, Connie, I wish one of these days God would kill me.
I tell you, Connie, there's some days I wake up, I wish you're gone. Some days I wish I wake up and Sandman would take you away in your dreams.
I wish some power would have the ability to do what I cannot.
I wish I was braver
from this earth.
I wish I was a brave man. She's like, what the fuck are you talking about? You talking about killing me? I just wish I had a spine, Connie. That's all. Sometimes I just wish I had a spine.
Toby never really left his room. He would sit by his bed and tremble. His mind would wander, but his thoughts changed too fast to be remembered. He would pace around his room like a caged animal or stare out the window. The unhealthy cycle continued. Connie continued to be pushed around by her husband, being way too submissive to him, and Toby remained in his room.
Make me a sandwich. Oh God. Hey, give me the remote. Oh, okay. Fine. Hey, go plant a flower. Oh my God. Okay, fine.
Is that your depiction of what spousal abuse looks like?
In this scenario, yes. She was too submissive to him. I like to think he's just like, yeah, why don't you go take out the trash. Okay, fine. All right,
definitely fine. Nothing else unseemly or violent.
Please, just keep your voice down. Give me a cosmic brownie from the pantry. Mm-hmm. That's all. And then Toby's upstairs just twitching.
Oh. Before he could think twice, he would begin to chew on his hands, tearing the flesh from his fingers.
What? Wait, hold the fuck on. Pause. Toby, before he could think, he would begin to chew on his hands, tearing the flesh from his fingers. He's already just eating his hands?
No, so it's saying that like because he can't feel pain, he like nervously bites at his fingers. But
he's like fucking biting off the skin from. Yeah.
That's a big problem with like especially like little kids who have those conditions where they can't feel pain. They'll like gnaw their lips off and like fingers and stuff because they can't.
I've heard of the lips thing. It's pretty crazy. Like you can bite holes into your cheeks and shit.
Mm-hmm. When his mother walked in on him while he was doing so, she reacted horribly. She rushed him downstairs and grabbed the first aid kit, wrapping his hands in bandages. Afterward, she demanded that he wouldn't leave her side again. Toby isolated himself so much that he grew to hate being around others. His memory grew glitchy as well. start missing memory of minutes, hours, days, and so on. He would begin talking nonsense about things completely unrelated to the conversations he would have. He'd go off about seeing things, sharks in the sink as he washed the dishes, hearing crickets in his pillows, and seeing ghosts outside his bedroom window. His mother grew so anxious about his mental health that she decided it would be good for him to talk to a professional about what he was feeling.
Yeah. What? Yeah, Connie. The fuck are you talking about? All right, well, he keeps screaming in the night saying that he sees ghosts and crickets and sharks. We should probably have him talk to somebody.
He also has several mental conditions that he's constantly bullied for. He's been through a traumatic episode, and now his sister is dead.
No, fine.
Maybe.
You've twisted my arm. Fine, we'll have him talk to a counselor.
It's funny to imagine the husband is the one who brought it up eventually. Like, dang, Connie, why don't we?
Yeah, goddamn, Connie, can you not take him to see a therapist? Fuck. Whatever you say, boss.
Yeah, she's still like, okay.
Okay, fine. Just don't yell. Whatever. Jesus, just fucking use BetterHelp if you have to. Fuck.
Connie walked Toby into the building, holding his hand and guiding him in. She walked him up to the front desk and began talking to the lady who sat behind it.
Mrs. Rogers?
The lady asked.
Yes, that's me. We're here to see Dr. Oliver. I'm here with Toby Rogers. Yes, right this way.
The lady stood and led them down a long hallway. Toby looked at the framed artwork down the halls and tuned in to the sound of the lady's high heels on the hardwood floor. She opened the door to a room with a table and 2 chairs.
If we can get him to sit in here for a few minutes, I'll get the doctor.
She smiled and held the door open. Toby stumbled into the room and sat down at the table. He looked over at his mother and the lady before the door slowly shut behind them. He looked around the room before he held up his tightly bandaged hands and began to bite at the bandages to unwrap his hands. He was interrupted as the door swung open and a young woman in a black and spotted dress with light blonde hair stepped in, holding a clipboard and a pen.
Toby?
She asked with a smile. Toby looked up at her and nodded.
Nice to meet you, Toby. My name is Dr. Oliver.
She put her hand out for him to shake but hesitantly pulled away when she noticed his bandaged hands.
Oh.
Exactly how a healthcare professional would act.
Ew. Gross.
Oh.
Your hands are all, you got little grubby hands, huh? Little
if
worm
you
hands?
ever tried to touch me again, you pathetic brat.
Yeah, so if you try to touch me with those gross paws, I'll slap you in the face. I'll knock your teeth out of your fucking face. Just kidding.
You
Yeah,
know,
I'm Dr. Oliver.
The way pediatricians work.
Yeah, that's every pediatrician I've been to. Don't ever touch me. Ew. God, you're gross. Look at you. You're gross. You're a little gross man.
Ew!
Sorry.
Call the
about that.
police!
Sorry, doctor. I bite my hand sometimes. Yeah, I have eyes. I can see. Here, eat this Adderall and get the hell out of here.
She smiled nervously before clearing her throat and said, no, that's what they say to you because you're a grown teacher trying to get Adderall prescriptions in a hospital. Like, going as if you are a child.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a kid. I need pills.
Dr. Oliver, I know the drug racket you have going with the kids in my class and the Chinese guy.
I need Vicodin and hydrocodone. I'm 12.
Okay, you're clearly a 46-year-old man. Please go home.
Actually, Mr.
Oh God, I can't sleep. I need hydros to sleep, please.
Actually, my husband, Mr. Lee from your school, told me about you and said if you ever show up in this clinic, I should call the police.
Who do you work for? Let's just go back to that again.
You're with the communists, aren't you? She smiled nervously before clearing her throat and sitting in the chair across the table from him.
So, I'm going to ask you a few questions. Try to answer them as honestly as possible, okay?
She placed her clipboard down on the table. Toby nodded slowly and held his restrained hands in his lap.
How old are you, Toby?
17.
He responded quietly. She wrote that down on the paper that was clipped to the clipboard.
What is your full name?
Toby Arid Rogers.
When is your birthday?
April 28th.
Who is your immediate family?
Toby paused for a minute before answering her question.
My Bob, my dad, Ed, my sister. I heard about your sister, dear. I'm really sorry.
Her expression faded into a sad, pity-filled look. Toby nodded.
Do you remember anything from the crash, Toby?
Toby looked away from her. His mind went blank for a moment. He looked down into his lap, and in the surrounding area he heard a faint ringing sound. His eyes widened and he froze in place.
Toby?
Counselor asked.
Toby, are you listening?
Toby felt a shiver go down his spine until he froze once again and slowly looked over the little window through the door, where he saw it. A dark, featureless figure peering in at him. He stared, eyes widened, the ringing growing louder and louder until suddenly the voice of the counselor broke his trance.
Toby!
She yelled. Toby jumped and fell sideways out of his chair and backed up into the corner. Dr. Oliver stood up, holding her clipboard to her chest, a surprised look in her eyes. Toby met her eyes again, his breath hitching as he twitched. That night, Toby lay in bed. His eyes were dazed as he stared straight up at his ceiling. He could feel himself begin to doze off when he heard the scattering of footsteps down his hallway. He sat up and looked towards the doorway, his door wide open. There was no light. Everything was lit by the luminescent blue glow of the moon through his window, leaving a cold lighting. There was no light.
Lighting.
Everything was lit by the glow of the moon, leaving a cold lighting.
It was pitch black. There was cold lighting.
It felt like an AI sentence. Like,
It did too.
Is there lights in this room?
Feelings.
No, the light is from the moon. There are lights.
There is no light in this room. Only cold lighting.
He stood up and slowly made his way toward the doorway when suddenly the door, which previously was wide open, slammed in his face. He gasped and fell back. He was out of breath when he hit the ground and he began breathing heavily, his eyes wide open. He waited for a few seconds before getting back on his feet. He reached out and grasped the cold door handle with his bandaged hand and it creaked open. He looked out into the dark hallway and tiptoed out of his room. The window at the end of the hallway lit up the darkness with blue moonlight as he padded his way down. He could hear footsteps rustling around him and faint giggling followed by the pitter-patter of small feet, which sounded like a child had run in front of them, giggling and running around. There's been like 5 sentences. It sounded like the footsteps of a child, the child running in front of him, giggling.
Yeah,
and
well,
running
even
around.
even the idea of I thought was it. I mean, it makes more sense, but it's like he was out of breath when he hit the ground and he began breathing heavily. It's like I was out of breath and now I'm breathing heavily.
The hallway was a lot longer than he remembered. It seemed endless, like the ride home from the hospital. He heard the door creak in front of him.
Mom?
He called in a shaky voice. Suddenly, a door slammed between... There's a lot of door slammings. Suddenly, a door slammed behind him, and he jumped and turned around. Behind him, he heard a long, eerie groan that sounded like croak right in his ear. He turned around as fast as he could and was suddenly face to face with none other than his dead sister.
Oh, no.
Her eyes were clouded white, her skin pale, the right side of her jaw dangling there by tissue and muscle. Glass protruding from her forehead, black blood leaking down her face, her blonde hair pulled up in a ponytail as it always was, and she was wearing her gray t-shirt and athlete shorts, which were dirty and spotted with blood. Her legs were bent in ways that they shouldn't be. She stood emitting a long, croaking noise only an inch away from Toby's face. Tony yelped and fell back. He started to crawl backward away from her, but he was unable to break the eye contact he held with her blank, dead eyes. He dragged himself backward until he backed up into something. He went backwards. While going backwards, he backed into something backwards. Backwards, he backed backwardly.
Pancakes.
He stopped for a second. Everything was dead silent except for his heavy breathing and crying. He slowly looked up to meet the blank face of a tall, dark figure, the same figure that stood over him now. Behind the tall, dark mass were rows of children looking to range from 3 to 10 years old. Their eyes completely black and dark black blood leaked from their eye sockets. Why is it key? Every paragraph it picks a word and then says that word 5 times.
He likes it.
He screamed and stood up as fast as he could, only to be tripped by dark black tendrils that wrapped around his ankle. He fell straight on his stomach and got the wind knocked out of him. He tried to scream, but he couldn't make a sound. He wheezed out before it all went black. Toby woke with a start. He screamed out and sat up as fast as he could, completely short of breath. His breath keeps going from short to deep.
He keeps being out of breath. He's short of breath. God damn, someone get Tiki Toby an inhaler. Fuck's sakes, dude.
He keeps blacking out, and then the room looks black, but then he blacks out because
Motherfucker he doesn't have Tourette's. He has fucking asthma. It's just like there's not enough oxygen going to his brain.
Given the amount of healthcare professionals we can see, they probably saw the kid hyperventilating and was like Tourette's syndrome.
It's just Tourette's. It is what it is.
It's just Tourette's, yeah. He wheezed out and held his chest with his bandaged hands. It was just a dream. Just a dream. He lay back down on his bed and rolled over on his side. It felt like against weight had been lifted off his chest. I don't even know what I was trying to say there. Had been lifted off his chest as he took in deep breaths. He stood up and padded over to his window. He saw nothing. Nobody was out there. No ghosts, no figures, nothing. He heard the rustling and coughing of his father outside the doorway. His door was closed. He walked over and opened it. Looking out into the hallway once again, he padded down... People keep padding hallways. He padded down the hallway and into the kitchen, where he found his dad standing and having a smoke in their living room. Toby waited for a second and watched him from around the corner before a burning feeling started deep in his chest. Deep, boiling anger overtook him. He heard the little imaginary voices in his head.
Do it! Do it! Do it!
They chanted. He turned away and held his arms. He felt like he actually had control over himself, like he did for the past few weeks since he got home from the hospital. He actually had complete thoughts for just moments before it. In my mind, like Toby's standing behind him. And from his POV, it's like a dark room with like the only light being the glow of the TV, and it's just like outlining the silhouette of a giant flower head.
And it's still L. It's L looking down at a giant fucking. It's L looking down at a giant fucking Cuphead flower.
It's like him from the back of the room standing in the corner. He's like the silhouette, and like it's funnier to.
I like to think that he's doing idle animation, like the flower's doing idle animation, like it's a fucking Cuphead boss.
Yeah, it's like the Daisy from Plants vs. Zombies. Just like bobbing side to side. Or the sunflower, I mean. And it's funnier to imagine because you brought up earlier how like that he describes earlier that his dad hit his mom, but the only stuff we've seen happen in the story is that she was quote unquote too submissive. Yeah. And then you brought up like, what if he's just like, hey babe, do you care to, can you get the remote for me? And she's like, sure. Like he's completely happy. There's no abuse happening.
Or like the worst thing that he's done is he's just like, yeah, this place is dirty. Clean it up. He's like one of those guys,
like but completely undeserving of getting
we've heard from Toby first off that
he's an unreliable narrator. Yeah,
that he was a drunk that didn't show up to his sister Lyra, who was dying in the hospital because he was drunk. Mm-hmm. But then also we've heard that he grabbed his mom by her hair and pushed her on the ground. But all we've seen so far is that she's like, "You want me to make you a sandwich?" And he's like, "Yeah." And then he like walks over and touches his arm and he's like, "Don't touch me." That's it. You would think that he would like slap him. He's like, "Don't touch me, boy." Hits him. Psh.
So because the character is now Eric in my mind, it's funnier to imagine there's no actual abuse or anything bad happening, and he's just a happy sunflower on the couch, and his son has decided to murder him.
That's it, flower boy. That's it, flower bitch. You're going down.
He's like watching Animal Crossing Let's Play on the TV, just happy, kicking his feet in a flower pot, and his son's about to stab him to death. He turned away and held his arms. He felt like he actually had control over himself, unlike he did for the past few weeks since he got home from the hospital. He actually had complete thoughts for just moments before the chanting of the little voices in his head clouded them.
Kill him! He wasn't there! He wasn't there! Kill him! Kill him!
They continued on. Toby trembled. No, he wasn't going to do it. What? Was he going crazy? No, he won't kill anyone. He can't. He hated his father, but there was no way he was going to kill him. That was it. The last thought he had before he fell into an idle state once again. The influence of the voices in his head was too much. He began to silently walk up behind his father. He reached...
Oh, yeah.
He reached... He reached over the counter to the knife in the case. He grabbed it in his hand. He felt the sensation take over his chest. He let out a snicker. The dad on the couch.
Yeah, he's like, I like how the dad is like hearing this laughing. He's just like, whatever, dude. Can't be that funny.
I like the idea of the dad as the giant flower arrangement around his head. And every time he turns his head, he knocks everything on the table over.
What are you laughing at?
Like over. Like the room's just illuminated by the TV and his son starts laughing and you can see the giant shadow turn slowly. Just take out a lamp as he turned it around. What's got you all tore up?
What the hell? What are you snickering back there for, boy?
Hey son, you want to come watch Animal Crossing Let's Plays with me?
Yeah, I've just been watching the Zoo Buck commercial over and over again on repeat. Come down here.
He began laughing so hard he had to gasp for breath.
Of course.
His father turned around abruptly before he felt a brute force shove him to the floor. He grunted as the air was knocked out of him. There's two more air mentions again.
What?
He looked up at the boy who stood over him, grasping the kitchen knife in his hand.
Toby, what are you doing?
He went to sit up and put his arms out in front of him in self-defense, but before he knew it, Toby was on top of him. He went to grab his neck, but his father reached out and blocked his hand by grabbing onto his wrist.
Stop! Get off me, you little fucker!
He yelled, and with his other hand, he threw an off-center punch towards Toby's shoulder, but he didn't stop. The look... I'm sorry.
Take that.
I'm sorry.
What do you think about this?
Just the visual of his mom coming downstairs and Toby is on top straddling his dad, but his dad has his feet in a comically large flower pot.
He's rolling around. God damn it! Trying to get out of it. Damn you, Toby!
You know how when you're a kid and you're
My one
fighting.
weakness.
You know when you're a kid and you're fighting with siblings, you'd be on the ground and you would windmill your legs so they couldn't get close.
Yeah.
The dad's doing that with the flower pot, just
The
look in Toby's eyes was not sane. It looked as if a demon had taken control of him. He yelled back and went to stab the knife into his father's chest, but his father blocked him and grabbed onto his wrist once again. He went to shove him back, but Toby kicked his feet out in front of him and landed a hard blow straight to his father's face. His father recoiled and pulled his arms away to cuff his face, but Toby got back up and drove the knife straight into his shoulder. His father let out a loud cry and went to pull the knife out, but before he could, Toby threw his fist straight into his face. He began to pound his fist into his head, laughing and wheezing. He cracked his neck and grabbed the knife and ripped it out of his father's shoulder. He drove it deep into his dad's chest and repeatedly stabbed into his torso, blood spilling out and getting splattered everywhere. He didn't stop until his father's body went still. He threw the knife over to the side and leaned over his body, coughing and panting. He stared at his father's smashed-in face and sat there.
Hell yeah.
You already know what I'm thinking. It's like the face is smashed in, but it's got like the flower petals around it. Circle. Father's face smashed in and sat there twitching until a loud scream broke the silence. He looked over to see his mother standing a few feet away, covering her mouth, tears streaming down her face.
Toby! Why'd you do that? Why?
Toby stood up and began to back away from his father's bloody corpse. He began to back out of the kitchen. He looked down at the blood-soaked bandages on his hands and looked up at his mother one last time before he turned and ran out of the house. He ran into the garage and slammed his hand against the control panel on the wall and pushed the button to open the garage door. Before he ran out, he noticed his father's hatchets.
Oh, boy. Okay.
Which had been hanging on the tool rack above a table full of jars filled to the brim with
old rusted nails and screws, huh?
Which had been hanging on the tool rack above a table full of jars filled to the brim with old rusted nails and screws. One of the hatchets was new. It had a bright orange handle and a shiny blade. And the other was old with a wooden handle and an old dull blade. He grabbed both and looked down at the table, and he saw a box of matches, and under the table was a red gasoline tank. He held both of the matches in one hand and grabbed 2 matches and gasoline before running out of the garage, down the driveway, and up the street. As he approached the street light that he could see out of his own bedroom window, he heard police sirens in the distance. Hold on. Okay, so he gets the hatchets with the wooden handle. He grabbed both matches, and then he stole matches and gasoline. Okay. He turned around, and the red and blue flashing lights came rushing down the street. Toby stood for a second before he pulled open the cap on the gasoline tank and ran down the street, spilling gasoline all over the street after him. He turned and ran into the trees. He poured the last bit of gasoline out before he reached into his pocket and pulled out a match. He struck it against the box and immediately dropped it. In an instant, flames burst around him. Fire caught on the trees and bushes around him, and before he knew it, he was surrounded by fire. A silhouette of police cars were visible through the flames as he backed away into the forest around him. He looked around, but his vision was blurred, his heart was pounding, and he closed his eyes for a moment. This was it. This was the end. Toby felt a hand on his shoulder. He opened his eyes and looked over to see a large white hand with long, bony fingers resting on his shoulder. He followed the arm that was attached to the hand up to a dark, towering figure. It appeared to be wearing a dark black suit, and its face was completely blank. Towered over Toby's small frame as it looked down on him. Tendrils reached out from its back. Before Toby knew it, his vision blurred, and he heard the sound of ringing in his ears. Everything went blank. That was it. That was the end. That was how Toby Rogers died. A few weeks later, Connie sat in her sister's kitchen. His sister, Lori, sat next to her drinking a cup of coffee. I think that's meant to be her sister, Lori, sat next to her drinking coffee. About 3 weeks ago, Connie lost her husband and her son, and a few weeks before, she had lost her daughter to a car crash. Since then, she moved in with her sister. The police were keeping her busy. They had just finished cleaning up the case, and the story had been released 2 weeks ago. The focus of the world seemed to have shifted to completely new stories. Lori switched the TV on to a news broadcast. On the TV, the news reporter began introducing the new headline.
We have breaking news. Last night, there have been reported the murder of 4 individuals. There are no suspects yet, but the victims were a group of middle school kids who had been out in the woods late last night. The kids had been bludgeoned and stabbed to death. The investigators have discovered a weapon at the crime scene. It appears to be an old, dual-blade hatchet, as you can see here.
Picture changed to show snapshots of the weapon exactly as it was left at the crime scene.
Investigators have pulled the name of possible possible suspect, Toby Rogers, a 17-year-old boy who stabbed his father to death a few weeks ago and tried to cover up his escape by setting a fire in the forest area around the neighborhood. Although they believe the young boy who had died in the fire, investigators suspect Rogers might still be alive due to the fact that his body was never found.
And that is the end of Tiki Toby. You know what's weird about Tiki Toby, dude? First off, I think...
Hold on.
Okay,
First of all, did you get what the large figure that was with him was in the fire?
The large figure? Wasn't that him in the future or something?
No, Hunter.
What?
I want you to think about it.
It's probably just death then, right? It's just the Grim Reaper?
No. Let me read this for you.
Is it literally Slender Man?
It's Slender Man, yes.
I love it. Is it Slender Man? It's Slender Man, yes. So wait.
So Tiki Toby started as a Slender Man proxy, similar to like Eyeless Jack, Jeff the Killer, and stuff like that. And this was his origin story that someone wrote out.
So this is Slender Man's origin story.
No, not Slender Man's, Toby's, because the whole idea is Slender goes from person to person and he picks like agents, like followers of his. And Tiki Toby was always one of those like followers, like the Rake, stuff like that, offshoots of Slender himself. Like we kind of saw that in the Marble Hornet series. Remember the mask guy and the hoodie guy and stuff like that?
Yeah. They're all kind of like, because, you know, this thing is so old. Like, I mean, it's an older story, 2015, yes. 10 years, 10 plus years, whatever. You get a lot of faceless stuff because of Slender Man's, you know, so you don't really count it up to it, but it is funny because even with the tendrils, I was like, really, tendrils? But yeah, because usually that's a dead giveaway too, that it's a Slender Man thing too. Because I was like, oh, is it just the Grim Reaper? But no, to have it actually be Slender Man is pretty funny.
It is actually Slender Man, and that's the same face that shows up while he's in the hospital, and the face that shows up while he's at when he's looking out his bedroom window. The story is extremely cruel, is it not? Incredibly, because there was no weight attached to it for them. Like the young riders of these things, yeah. There's gravity. There's nothing there there's like nothing there to give. I mean, like, the motivation is, like, yes, he's bullied at school. I think that even Jeff the Killer does a better job at, like, setting up a fucking hopeless whatever. But it's always funny that it's, like, innocent guys turn bad. And I think that's where the sex appeal comes in with this stuff, is that it's like, well, he had no choice. I mean, did you get that story, that visual at the end of it, the wood's on fire, and he like looks at the cops and dramatically backs into it. It's like a intro movie to a fight game. Yeah. It's a movie. But that's the thing, is like him going out, and now even his victims are people that deserve it. Which, to be fair, at least in this story, I have to give Tiki Toby this. At least in this story, Toby has a heart, at least. Like he's plagued by his sister's death, right? Versus Jeff the Killer at the end, he just fucking kills his family for no reason. Right? And Jeff the Killer at the ending is just like, why kill these people? I don't like, that makes no sense. To where, yeah, you kill your dad who's drunk in a flower pot, and he's like ordering his mom to make him like fish sandwiches and stuff like that. Sure, you could be upset about that, but you know, like what I expected was him to be like, oh, he's possessed, right? So he kills the dad, and I thought he was going to grab the hatchet and then cut up his mom and then burn the house down. I thought that's what was happening. No. That's because, okay, so that scene of him getting the hatchet is because all of the fan drawings of Tiki Toby, he always had a hatchet. He has to write the hatchet into the story. It would be like if in like the first Captain America movie, he's like, I'll be needing this. And he grabs a random American shield, like out of nowhere, and starts using it. You know how cool it is, though? This is one thing that I actually kind of love about this. If I can, I don't know, give this, like, one thing I love is that there is an image of something that young people online are super stoked about, and they're like obsessed. They're like, this is the coolest thing ever. He's hot, whatever else, right? But then somebody goes and they write their own fan fiction of his origin story, or like how he came to be, wrapped in with another popular internet figure, like it is a fucking Marvel movie, like an MCU collab or whatever. And then it gets so popular, and it gets so popular that they're just like, yep, this is it. This is canon.
That's kind of sick. That's actually kind of cool. Is it not?
That's how it was. People would write stuff, and some stuff would get canon. Other stuff, people would be like, we don't like that. So someone would write their own version of it. There's a ton of that. Slender Man specifically, there were so many. So like I'm pulling up the Slender Man wiki right now. And not only are there proxies and a bunch of them, but there's different rankings for proxies. So there's
What?
like different. There's five
where's
different
this at?
levels.
Where are you seeing this?
It's on the Slender Man wiki. Hold on, let me shoot you a link to this.
Yeah, give me a link.
This was like people's entire personality when I was growing up. Like online, people would talk about this kind of thing a ton.
When do you think that died? Do you think it just died with those people growing up?
I mean,
Or
it
what do
just
you
died
think?
naturally. Well, I mean, like, people started talking about horror stuff on YouTube more. Like, there were different communities, like Reddit, that became more popular than like.
Yeah, but you think that you would
think
that with those things expanding that it would like my mind goes to, does that not just make the roots stronger instead of die off?
I mean, I was passively interested in some of the stuff, and then I turned 14. I was like, okay, this is kind of.
So you do think it's just people grow up?
I think a lot of it's growing up. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So if the 5 different rankings, according to the blogosphere, which is like a website where people write. Anyway, the ranking system's as follows: rank 1, hallowed. Mindless puppets created by Slender Men for the harassment of runners with no other purpose. I assume runners means people running from Slender Man. 2 is berserkers, most commonly resembling the traditional perception of proxies, slaves to the Slender Man, but with enough of their own will left to have superior problem solving and tactics. That's like the rake. That's what Ticci Toby would be, I would think. The 3rd one is sleepers, have their original personalities kept intact and are left unaware of their status as proxies. 4 is agents, not proxies in the traditional sense. Agents appear to be the blogosphere's interpretation of cultists. I don't know how that's any different from berserkers or sleepers, but whatever. And finally, revenants, proxies with super strength and regenerative abilities granted to them by Slender Man. Eventually became unpopular with bloggers and were retconned away as hallucinations. So that's like, that last part specifically is like everyone would have OCs of like themselves, and they would always write themselves as like Slender's proxy, but they were like a super strong proxy that Slender liked a lot. So he gave them like superpowers to fight people. It was no different than any other early child community. Yeah,
that has to be people. Yeah, I mean that's like the same shit that you get into like bronies and stuff, or like other people that it's like, oh, a magical thing comes and like transforms me, and I get to be a part of this world or whatever. This is also that's the no fun kid where it's just like, no, I have a bubble, you can't attack me. That kind of thing. Yeah. A part of the community.
I have a superpower resistant spell that makes it where you can't hit me. Controversy of Ticci Toby when you're looking on the wiki. Response to Cast Wave.
It's weird too. I'll tell you this. It's weird with these stories, looking back at them and not having any historical context. Like to you were there when it was at its peak in popularity, or like when it was being shared around. But in hindsight now, it's kind of interesting because it's still so fascinating. That that this was like such a crazy popular thing. It's something so short and congested. You know what I mean? Like it's just kind of it's fucking cool. That's one thing I love about the creepypasta like culture is like really cringe stories just like moved people so much that also I'll tell you what, there probably already is, like, I mean, you saw it already with the person who made I saw the TV Glow. That's kind of like a creepypasta-esque thing, or, we're all going to the World's Fair. That director's very, I think, inspired by like internet horror story stuff back in the day. But I think you're going to see more and more of it show up. And you know what would be fucking sick is if someone got money, if we ever get tons and tons and tons of money to make an actual feature film, Isaiah, we should do Jeff the Killer versus Ticci Toby the same way they did Freddy versus Jason. Try to tell me that wouldn't be fucking awesome.
So that there are several Jeff the Killer versus Ticci Toby stories about them going head to head with each other. There's one I remember where they're having a fight and like the building they're in catches on fire and they're both on fire punching each other.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. That'd be so awesome. But then too, here's the thing: you get to do both of their origin stories and then they collide.
Yeah,
together.
That's the idea.
Who would win?
Toby, because he actually has an ability. He can't feel pain, whereas Jeff can, even if he's just sadistic. Jeff's never. But also in all those crossover stories, they both have like special powers by Slender, so they can like throw each other through walls and stuff like that.
I think Tiki Toby also is a more likable character, so you'd want him to win. Like that'd be the one.
Want him to win. Yeah.
That'd be the one where you're like, he deserves the win. You know,
he's the Jason of the Freddy Jason combo. Where Jason's like, oh, I was a kid who like died and it's tragic. Whereas Freddy's just a monster, you know. He's more sympathetic.
Right.
So I'm trying to think. There's the Observer. I remember the Observer. He was another proxy. He like tormented.
Are you talking about another story?
Yeah. The Observer. There was Deadhead. That was another proxy. There were literally like a dozen of these things, like entire stories people built about specifics. Deadhead was the one in a hoodie, I think. Deadhead is a member of the Collective. Deadhead's only defining feature are his hoodie, chain, and skull mask. Yes. Yep. Yeah, there's a ton of these. It's a whole rabbit hole.
There's such a huge difference between this and like the Jeff the Killer stuff that came afterwards. And it made me think like, you know, this thing is before those times of stuff, obviously. But, you know, it makes me think of like Ted the Caver, that kind of stuff of, I wonder what the difference is. What do you think the difference is between people who are like getting into telling horror stories online before it started like picking up? Do you think it's just like the youthful tropes of like what ended up becoming popular were just kind of more of that kind of schlocky, you know, Slender Man kind of vibe? Or do you think that there was something else that like, I guess earlier writers tapped into? Does that make sense?
So initially it was people who were interested in writing and wanted to write scary stuff. And then there's people who wanted to be a part of online horror communities. And those are two very different things, right? Like there's some overlap. I'm not saying there's not, but most of the time people who say write fan fiction within groups and stuff like that, about half those people want to be writers and continue to write afterwards. The other half want to write fan fiction. Right. So initially when there was no community or anything like that, it was just people who wanted to tell creepy stories for whatever reason.
That's such a good observation, man. Like the idea of like people that were writing this stuff back in the day were like, I just love writing. I love writing stories and stuff. And with the
I read Edgar Allan Poe, I read Stephen King. I want to write. Yeah.
And you could say respected work or whatever, but I guess more so people being like, I love the art of storytelling versus people being like, I want to be a part of an internet community is such a like actually interesting take. Because it's so true. Because also too, a lot of these stories are written of just like, yeah, this is what I think, and like I want to post it and see what people think. But really, and the innocence and the kind of like ignorance that comes with that. To me, you get some of the most memorable stuff. It's just totally unfiltered, you know, ideas of people who are just like, I just know it needs to be this. Like they put themselves in a box and they like creatively make something, even though they're just like, I just want to post it on this website and see what people think. Is such a fun evolution of that storytelling process. And you still see it today too, you know? I mean, like all that stuff, even in video format, everything. But there is just something so fun about these early stories, man. I am people who are listening to this, and even you, I'm infinitely jealous of people who got to grow up and be a part of this like weird culture and time and like just digging deeper. Because especially at this time, it was people in the internet's kind of infancy, or at least young people online when the internet was still like blossoming and figuring itself out, to where there was so much mysterious shit. Like it used to be that it was like, it felt like the internet was a time where it was ever expansing, like just like gold mines everywhere, instead of being like obviously just like shit heaps that it is now. But very, very interesting. Honestly, this was such a fun read today. Tiki Toby was way better than I expected.
Oh, hold on. You have to get.
They're not way better, but you know.
TP Toby. Is there anything for those? Can I? Google's telling me not to. That's great.
Jesus Christ.
Here we go. This is the kind of thing I want to send you. All right. So you're like, oh, this is so fun. This is great. This is the majority of what I experienced from the fandom. Just looking at this kind of thing.
My crush is a killer.
It's gender bent. Ticci Toby. There are,
You know, that's the way she goes though, dude. That's the way it is. Anytime something big happens, you have to have, if there's not cringe fan art of it, then is it even really getting traction? You gotta have
so many pictures of Toby and Jeff kissing right now. There's so many. Oh my!
We need to make that a shirt. We need to make it a shirt. And we need to make it merch.
Of like old MS Paint detail, like Toby
Love
and
it.
Jeff.
Love it.
Each other. Hold on,
Guys.
this is the shirt. The one I'm about to send you is the shirt.
While he sends us and giggles. Guys, thank you so much for Jesus Christ. This image. The anime, the how to draw anime scholastic book art of that is phenomenal. Listen, I'm getting out of here. Guys, thank you so much for stopping by and reading some classics with us today. Be sure to check us out on Spotify and Apple Podcast if you have not yet. We appreciate it. And until next time, everyone. Bye-bye.
Wait, you have to click on the link of the one I just sent you. Is that link?
I saw it. Okay.
You just have
All
to
right,
it's Jeff. It's Jeff
Yes.
and Toby kissing Slender.
Kissing
It's
Slender.
kissing.
Okay. I'm stopping my recording. Good.
Okay, I guarantee you there's going to be one in here that's pornographic. There it is. Okay, this one. I'm going to send him this one. The link took me to a bunch of these. I've got this is so he's so fresh and new about this because he hasn't seen the things I've seen with these two characters. So I'm going to do this for a while. You all have fun or whatever. Thanks for watching. Bye.